Hi everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host Jenna, and this is our daily show giving you all the latest news from the world of movies, plus insight into what it all means. And joining me as always is AMC Editor-in-Chief John Campea.
Hey Jenna, hey everybody,
John.
welcome to the show, and I ain't got time to bleed.
Okay. Also joining us today is the director of the upcoming documentary, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, Jon Schnepp. Hey, John.
What's up? Hey, everybody. What's going on? We made it. The goal got met.
I was going to say, before we go further, I want to mention Schnepp's, the Kickstarter thing. It worked. I mean, you raised what, like nearly 100 grand already? Still going for that extended goal so you can film the scenes. Congratulations on that.
Yeah,
it's
congrats.
It's going to be an awesome project.
Thanks everyone who contributed. It's still going for a couple more days if you want to pitch in and help me make some of these recreation scenes, but we're doing it, so thanks. Good.
Awesome.
Glad to be here.
All right, let's get started. All right, up first, ever since news came that Disney had purchased Lucasfilm and was planning on producing Star Wars Episodes 7, 8, and 9, speculation, rumors, and denials have flown around faster than the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. Rumors circulated that Harrison Ford was signed on to return, but then Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill, denied that any of the original cast has officially signed up yet, but were in talks. Now comes our first absolute confirmation. Carrie Fisher was asked this week directly if she could confirm that she is indeed returning for Star Wars Episode 7, to which she replied, yes. John, good news or bad news that Fisher is returning as Princess Leia?
I feel like we got to go through this every time. Harrison Ford or Mark Hamill or Billy D. Williams or Anthony Daniels or whatever. Yes, this is great. This is great news. Of course, look, I've said this before. I will say it again. Does Star Wars Episode 7 need Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher to at least make appearances in the film? No, it does not need them, but is there huge upside and benefit to having them there? Absolutely. The way I describe it is this way. Yes, it's Star Wars, it's going to have that, but by bringing in Ford, Carrie, and Hamill on whatever level, even if there are like 5 minutes of screen time, 20 minutes of screen time, whatever, it will, in that instant, feel like home again. It will instantly feel like Star Wars again, and not just some recreation version of Star Wars, which I'm sure J.J. Abrams would still do a great job with. But knowing that Carrie Fisher is going to be there, and let's face it, it's inevitable that I believe Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill will be there as well. This is fantastic. I love it. Schnepp, what about you?
I was very excited. I'm waiting to hear about when Lobot is going to be back. Because I really, Bespin was a very important part of the entire Star Wars mythos to me. So I'm excited. Yeah, Princess Leia, she's coming back. All right, let's see what her and Han Solo's kids look like. Are they going to have lightsabers? What's going on? So it's going to be awesome.
I sure hope they do. And the one name that we haven't heard, I mentioned Billy D. Williams. Haven't heard a lot of people talking about Billy D. Williams. I mean, obviously he's not one of the essential core big three of Star Wars, but he'd be great. I saw him on an episode recently of Modern Family, and his voice is still so smooth.
Lando Calrissian.
I hope he's back.
Calrissian.
This weekend, the new Sam Raimi film, Oz the Great and Powerful, opens in AMC theaters everywhere. While doing a recent press tour for the movie, Raimi was asked about why he ultimately departed the World of Warcraft movie he was developing. Raimi explained that he agreed to do the film and then was given a screenplay for the movie written by the people at Blizzard, the company behind the game World of Warcraft. Raimi didn't think the script worked, so he came up with his own concept and showed it to Legendary Pictures, the studio behind the project, and Blizzard. Both companies gave the okay to write a script based on the concept, although Blizzard had some reservations. 9 months later, Raimi submitted the script, which Legendary liked, but Blizzard vetoed it, leaving Raimi to wonder why they let him spend all that time writing the script if they knew they were already uncomfortable with his concept. Raimi and his writer then tried doing another script, but time became an issue and so he left. Schnepp, what do you think about this whole Warcraft Raimi situation?
It's kind of a bummer. I mean, those things happen a lot in Hollywood. Like there's developments and things fall apart, and I mean,
Superman Lives, for example.
Yeah,
This is an example.
And also Spider-Man 4. Raimi also had a similar situation where he was developing it, and they were also at the same time developing another Spider-Man script called The Amazing Spider-Man. They were doing both at the same time, and you know, I think with this Warcraft situation, it's unfortunate because it would have been a cool movie if he directed it. I guess I'm kind of bummed about hearing the information, but it's not like shocking or surprising. So yeah.
I think what this really highlights to me, first of all, we should mention here that Duncan Jones, the guy who directed Moon, is now on board to direct, and that's great. I think he's going to have a fabulous take on World of Warcraft. I've always said World of Warcraft is kind of like the one video game franchise, maybe out of a couple, that I think are situated and set up well to make a good movie. And I think Duncan Jones will be great. But it is really sad knowing that Sam Raimi, especially after I saw Oz the Great and Powerful, he's such a creative filmmaker, and so it is kind of sad he's not going to be there. But I will say this. I often talk to people who will ask me about, you know, certain video game movies, and they say, well, if only they got the guys from the game to write the movie. Guess what? Video game makers ain't filmmakers. They're different things. I'm not saying one can't become another or anything like that, or that's impossible. But, you know, if Sam Raimi tells me he looked at a script that Blizzard made and said, hey, this isn't good, then it's not good. You know, game makers stick to making games. That's what you do best. You come up with these great concepts, then let filmmakers make the films. And that's just one of these things that highlights to me. And for Blizzard, a game company, to tell a filmmaker like Sam Raimi, look, it's one thing if Legendary Pictures, a filmmaking company, says to Sam Raimi, we're not comfortable with this concept or this script or the direction you're going. That's one thing. But for a game company to say to a filmmaker like Sam Raimi, no, we don't like what you're doing. Yeah, no. Game makers, look, just stay out of it. Let the filmmakers make the film. And I like what Raimi said. Look, let Blizzard okay the concept. But Blizzard, if you why okay the concept if you already have reservations, and then tell them 9 months later, nah, we're still not comfortable with the concept. We don't want to go with the script. Yeah.
John, remember this same situation happened to Neil Blomkamp, the director of District 9, and Peter Jackson with Halo. One of the biggest video games ever. Those guys were supposed to direct it and produce it. They had a script, and it all fell apart also. I mean, it happens with video game companies because video game companies are so internal, and they make more money than the movie and television and music industry combined. So they're a force of nature, and when they want to jump into the movie business, even though it's a lesser form of money that they're used to, I think they come with that also. Well, we've been writing the storylines of these 4 sequels in this video game world. That's what we want to stick to. Maybe the filmmakers come at it from a different angle, and they're like, all right, try it. So, I mean, I think that's the thing that happens is that they're like, yeah, go ahead and try it, because they're constantly producing and making video games and trying different storylines and scenarios. So in the filmmaking world, it's like, well, we did try it, and we thought that was a script. They're like, nah, just try a different version. So it gets really weird there. You know?
With the Halo situation, there were other elements going on with Halo, though. I mean, the studios themselves behind the film were never comfortable with Neil Blomkamp as the potential director. There was a lot of other issues, but we could write a book. Actually, you know what? We should. Your next documentary, Schnepp, you and me, we're going to do a what happened to the Halo movie. I think there's just as interesting of a story there. All right, listen, folks, it's time for that segment of the show called Buy or Sell. What's going to happen here is that Jenna is going to read off a bunch of other items in the world of movie news right now, and Schnepp and I are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Jenna, what do we got?
With the huge success of the latest Bond film, Skyfall, the biggest box office hit in the history of the 007 franchise, many have crossed their fingers that director Sam Mendes would return to helm the next Bond film as well. Some time ago, the producers of the series offered Mendes the gig to return, but the director has now announced that he will not be directing Bond 24, citing prior responsibilities to his stage theater and productions of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and King Lear he has upcoming. John, buy or sell Mendes not returning for Bond 24?
It's unfortunate, but I buy it. You know, a lot of people, one of the unfortunate things that we in fandom do is that once an actor or a director does something really well, we delude ourselves into thinking, now that's the only person who can direct. Christopher Nolan is now the only guy who could direct Batman. Christian Bale's the only guy who can be Batman. Christopher Reeve is the only guy who can be Superman. And that's just wrong. What it is we've had a chance to see them and we like them and now we associate with them and therefore we have a hard time thinking outside of the box. Mendes did a great job. As a fan of the film, I would have liked to have seen him come back, but there are other directors out there who can step in and do a great job too. And he also said, by the way, he could come back to do another Bond sometime in the future. Schnepp, what about you?
I sell the idea of Mendes not returning for Bond because I'm a little bummed about it. I think him and Daniel Craig were a great team together, and I was looking forward to them doing another episode of James Bond. I agree. There's a million directors out there who would fit the bill to do something else with the Daniel Craig Bond. So that's what we're going to get.
All right.
All right, Star Wars creator George Lucas just added about $4 billion to his bank account with the sale of Lucasfilm to Disney, and he already has plans for some of that money. Opening a museum. Lucas, an avid art collector, added that he hopes the museum will inspire a world of young people, much like the way he was inspired to create the world of Star Wars. This museum, if anything, is a dedication to cultural fantasy, he said. How do you design environments? How do you design sets? How do you design characters? And how do you design costumes? Part of the museum is designed to educate people into the idea of storytelling, into the idea of being able to paint your fantasies, which is what Star Wars was. Schnepp, buy or sell a George Lucas curated museum?
I buy it 100%. That's a great idea. I'm really glad that George Lucas is doing that with his money. I think that's a really responsible, cool way to invite the public into the world of special effects and storytelling and fantasy and science fiction in general. My only hope is that he doesn't do any kind of revisionist history in the museum, here's a matte painting and then, oh wait a sec, now it was all done digitally. That matte painting never existed. As long as he's respectful to actual history, which he hasn't been in his own films, I think we've got a hit.
I'm going to buy this. Look, as somebody, one of the thrills of my life, actually, having grown up a massive Star Wars fan, one of the thrills of my life was making my first trip to Skywalker Ranch, and actually got to walk around Skywalker Sound and the campus and the ranch there, and they're everywhere. Not only was there art, but memorabilia from not only his own films. I'm telling you, standing in front of that idol that Indiana Jones first picks up in Raiders of the Lost Ark, in that iconic scene where he switches the sandbag, I'm looking at it. It's right in front of me. It's unbelievable. All that stuff, I would pay good money every Saturday to go and visit that museum. So I buy it.
I agree. I'm also one of the few who's been able to get to the ILM and have a tour and to just see even the props from Hook, because I was blown away at the details. So
yeah.
I really am really excited. That's one of the best things that George Lucas can do with that money is create an incredible museum as an ode to all the amazing artists who have worked with him. So.
Awesome.
All right, the brand new trailer for Iron Man 3 was released yesterday over at Yahoo Movies. You can see a link in the video description below. John, buy or sell this new Iron Man 3 trailer?
I really buy it. I buy it. And I don't like it quite as much as I like the first Iron Man trailer, but that's just because the first Iron Man trailer blew my mind. I loved it so much, and I really, really like this trailer as well. It shows us kind of a more conflicted Tony Stark. This guy is going through some problems, and I just love that human, darker, dramatic feel to it. I think it feels great. I'm looking forward to it, so I buy it. Schnepp?
I 100% buy it. I buy it. I loved this trailer. I was talking with John earlier. I like this trailer the best so far. The Hulkbuster at the very end. What's up?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Super nerd. Hulkbuster running. Come on, man. Let's see this movie.
All right, what's next?
Host of The Daily Show, Jon Stewart, is going to be taking a 3-month break from his show in order to direct his first feature film, Rosewater, an adaptation of Maziar Bahari's book, Then They Came For Me, a family story of love, captivity, and survival. Far from a comedy, Rosewater chronicles BBC journalist Bahari's 118-day captivity in Iran's most notorious prison after leaving London in June of 2009 to cover the country's presidential elections. Schnepp, buy or sell Stewart making his directorial debut with Rosewater?
Buy it 100%. Why not? I think it sounds like a great story. Needs to be told. Let him do it. What's up? Buy it.
Yeah, I'm going to buy this too. Look, Jon Stewart is not just a comedian. He's actually a really sharp political mind. I really love the idea that it's not comedy. So yeah, this and the story sounds fast. I've seen his interviews with Bahari on the show, and the story is fascinating. So yeah, absolutely. I think this sounds wonderful. With or without Stewart directing it, it's a buy. But with Stewart, there's that extra added layer of interest. So yes, absolutely buy.
Okay. Since Iron Man, Marvel Films has created a tradition of having a special after-credits bonus scene that teased something upcoming in their future films. When asked if Marvel Films intends to continue that tradition in Phase 2 of the Marvel movie universe leading up to Avengers 2, Marvel President Kevin Feige said, "I don't want to be in that theater for the first time when even 2 people stay behind and nothing happens." John, buy or sell Marvel's after-credits scene tradition?
Love it. Buy. I love this thing. It's always that extra little treat at the end, you know? It's wonderful, and the fact that it's not just a little treat, it actually serves a function, giving you a little bit of a glimpse into what might be coming up in the next Marvel movie.
Right.
So, you know, the end of Iron Man 3 might give us a glimpse into what's coming up in Thor 2 or whatever. I love that little tradition. I hope they keep doing it. Schnepp, what about you?
100% yes. I love it. Are we still in buy? So,
Yeah, buy.
okay. I buy it 100%. I want to see these extra endings. If they could have 2 extra endings. In fact, in Avengers, they had 2. They had the little Thanos skimbly bit where he's like turning his head.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they're eating shawarma. So they had 2 of them. I say next Iron Man has to have 3. Introduce Nova, then introduce the Guardians of the Galaxy. Nova Corps, then Guardians, and then Iron Man doing wearing the Hulkbuster outfit. 3 endings. So keep doing them.
All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a question or a topic you'd like brought up and addressed on the show, you can email us at amcmovietalk@gmail.com anytime, 24/7, and every single day we go through the mailbag and we pick out a few of your questions and we address them here on the show. So right now, Jenna's got a few of them picked out. So Jenna, what do we got in the mailbag?
Okay, Christian Tardif writes, "Dear John Campea, can you tell me if the upcoming Oz, the Great and Powerful is any good?"
I'm so glad you wrote that
It's a good
question.
question.
Actually, Schnepp and I were talking about the movie last night. I personally, look, I'm shocked right now to see that the movie's got like a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. This movie is brilliant. This is a wonderful, wonderful ode to the original Wizard of Oz. Brilliant. It's a prequel, obviously. It's not based on the movie Wizard of Oz. It's actually a prequel to the book Wizard of Oz. So you'll notice a few differences in there. But I thought this felt like the spirit of the original film. I felt like I was just watching an extension of the original film. I met with James Franco recently, and I told him this might be my favorite performance of his, because not only is he playing Oz, the character Oz, he's also playing a 1939 actor and merging. He's performing Oz as if he was a 1939 actor doing it, so it has the same feel as the original film. On so many levels, Sam Raimi wins with this movie. So yeah, absolutely. I loved it. I hope a lot of you love it too. Run out and catch it. Like we said, it's in AMC theaters this weekend, so run on out and see it. All right, what do we got next?
Matthew Shellman writes, "Was curious if a Halo movie was still in the works or is it too late? Halo isn't as popular as it used to be, but I think if done right, it could be a box office hit. Imagine Samuel L. Jackson as Sarge."
Look, I think ultimately a Halo movie will happen at some point, but it might be a direct-to-video, like a video at that point. Halo is not as popular now as it was. As a matter of fact, I don't think Halo will ever be as popular again as it was about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. That's when it was really at its peak. So I just, man, I don't know if we're going to see a major Hollywood studio come in anymore, like a Fox or a Paramount or something, and pick up the tab for this one. I think the time has come and gone for that. I hope I'm wrong. Schnepp, what do you think?
Well, they already had a Halo movie. It was on Xbox. I downloaded it. It's called Halo After Dawn, and it was like
It was nice.
It was a really low budget,
Yeah.
interesting film. It had Master Chief in it. But it was like, it was a training film. I think that's where we're at with Halo. I don't think there's going to be a giant blockbuster movie. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I would like to see it. I think Halo's still one of my favorite mission games to play. It's a great game. All of the different iterations of the Halo sequels and whatnot. So somebody should make a Halo movie. I'd go see it.
All right, what's next?
Clayton Locke writes, love the show, guys. Keep up the awesome work. I've been a fan of the Alien and Predator movies since I first found out about them, and since there have been new films like Predators and Prometheus. What do you guys think the chances are of seeing another Aliens versus Predators movie?
Well, there are my two friends, Slim and Nunn. I don't think we're going to see it happen. I actually didn't mind that Adrian Brody one. I actually thought the Adrian Brody, it wasn't great, but I thought I had a nice time watching it. I thought it was a nice little film, but it didn't kill it at the box office the way they were kind of hoping. They've taken a couple of kicks at the Aliens versus Predators can. It was a great idea. Didn't really work, didn't really come together. I think it's done. If anything else, it might do some direct-to-video stuff, but I think as far as big feature motion pictures go, I think it's done. Schnepp, what do you think?
I don't know, Aliens and Predators 3 with Eddie Murphy, Danny DeVito, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're all of them are all hanging out together inside the womb of somebody. They're having triplets, and then they all come out as aliens.
And Danny Glover. You got to throw Danny Glover in
Right.
there.
Danny Glover is on a giant toilet flying in the sky. Yeah, that's how much I think Aliens and Predators 3 is going to happen. So,
Okay, Bill
but I did
Williams.
like Predators too. The Predators Adrian Brody one, but I was one of those people who was pissed off at that trailer when 100 different lasers come on Adrian Brody, where you're like, oh, that means 1,000 Predators are on that planet, and then there's only just one. They just did that as a special effect in the trailer, like, check it out, man, come see 1,000 Predators. Actually, there's 3 of them.
Okay.
So.
All right, Bill Williams writes, why hasn't Disney tried to buy back the rights to X-Men, Spider-Man, and the Fantastic Four so they can include them in the same universe as the Avengers?
Okay, so I've had to address this a couple of times. Thanks for the question, by the way. Look, I can guarantee you Marvel has had talks with people. I guarantee you, or in some coffee shop in West Hollywood or in Burbank somewhere, there's had a couple of reps sit down and maybe bat around the idea. But it's not going to happen. And I've said this before, right. I will say it again. Let's stick with, say, Sony and Spider-Man. Okay, you're Marvel, Jenna, and you want to buy Spider-Man back from me. Great. Why would I want to sell it back to you? Spider-Man had just made me almost $1 billion with one Spider-Man movie. With one Spider-Man rebooted movie, I made almost $1 billion worldwide. I made about $2 billion with the previous Spider-Man movies. So look, if I'm going to sell it to you, I got to think, okay, what could I feasibly make profit with the Spider-Man franchise over the next 10 years? Feasibly, I could probably make maybe around $3 billion with Spider-Man. Okay, Marvel, you want Spider-Man back? Give me $3 billion. And here's what Marvel now has to think. Okay, we just made the Avengers without Spider-Man. Are we going to make another $1 billion on top of what we made just by adding Spider-Man? No. We're going to make another $1 billion with the next Avengers, with or without Spider-Man. So that's just for Spider-Man. Now you're talking Fantastic Four, which you could probably get for less than $3 billion, but you're probably paying at least 1.5. Then you're talking about X-Men, and Fox is making so many X-Men type of films. You're probably gonna have to spend another $3 billion on that. So now you're talking about forking up about $7 to $8 billion for these characters you don't need to make money because you're already making money with what you have. It's just the finances of it don't work. So unless they come up with some magical deal, which I don't think is going to happen anytime in the next 5 to 6 to 7 years, it's just not going to happen because the financial realities don't make sense for either of the parties. Schnepp, you got a different opinion on this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I think the way eventually it'll happen, and this is the only way it would happen, is if the properties line up. Like, say the new Fantastic Four movie that Trank is directing, that comes out, and the Amazing Spider-Man 2 has already been out, and we have Avengers 2, and that's out. Then if everybody sits down at the table and they're like, look, for Avengers 3 it would be great to have a little scene with Spider-Man and one little quick flyover, like Fantastic Four and the Fantastic Car, like, we're going to the negative zone, we got to go deal with something else, you know, like some little crossover. Yeah, I think that's the way to do it, is like all the students have a sit down, like for Fantastic Four 2, let the Hulk make a quick appearance, and then in the Avengers 3, the Fantastic Car flies by. Amazing Spider-Man could be in, you know, that's the way to do it. Just do a little scene, and then the other characters can be in another little scene, and all the studios can be like, hey, look, we're all part of one big verse. Maybe we're not owned by Marvel or Disney or Fox or Sony, but we can all hang out in the same universe. I think that's the way to do it, and you better do it. Is all I'm saying.
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that'll happen either. I mean, I agree with Shep that that's the only way it could happen, but I also don't believe it'll happen, because here's what happens. So Sony, let's say they're having talks to have Spider-Man make a quick appearance in Avengers. Well, guess what? Now Sony and their creative department and their lawyers, they want to have say over the whole script of the movie, because their character is going to be appearing in it. They want to protect the character's image. They want to make sure the character appears not secondary to the Avenger characters, but rather, and then you got the X-Men characters. Like, now Fox wants to make sure, no, we don't want Spider-Man to appear like he's better than our X-Men in this, so we want to have approval over this script too. And then with our Fantastic Four characters, it seems like a huge living gelatinous nightmare.
Well,
I just can't
honestly,
see it happening.
that's why, if you keep it simple, like, actually Oscorp was almost in the Avengers movie. Remember, they were gonna put the Oscorp building in the Avengers movie, the Amazing Spider-Man Oscorp building.
Yes.
But it just didn't work out, and the timing wasn't right. They were gonna do it though, so I think if they do it that way, where it's a little cameo, Spider-Man swings by, helps somebody out, like, hey, I'm just on my way doing this, and all right, thanks, Spider-Man. Where it's not like they don't have to do any negotiating. It's like, look, we're going to chuck your character in, because it's basically our character. It's Marvel, but everybody can play together in the same sandbox. Let's do it. You know, I think it'll be great for the fans.
We can hope. We can only hope. Well, listen, folks, we've run out of time. Thanks so much for joining us. But listen, before you do anything else, stop what you're doing and click that subscribe button that you see. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news, and of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk show. And listen, head on out and see a movie tonight. Go on over to amctheaters.com for all your theater and showtime information, as well as your movie tickets. And once again, click that subscribe button. I want to thank our host today, Ms. Jenna Phillips. Jenna, thank you so much.
It was great to be here.
Good to have you here. I want to thank, of course, the one and the only Mr. Jon Schnepp.
Yo, thank you for having me.
And thank you to you guys. Listen, the most important part of the show, once again, is not what we have to say. It's what you have to say. Jump down into the comments section and leave your thoughts on any or all of the topics that we've brought up today. And listen, while you're down there, you'll see links to our iTunes and Stitcher radio links as well if you want to listen to an audio-only version of this show. Thanks again for joining us. My name's John Campea, Senior Editor of AMC Movie News. And until next time, bye-bye.